Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning back in. This time of year is typically slow for me as far as any bike jobs go. I'm going to be doing some work on the Sabre. I'm going to be doing a track weekend in November. I've already registered for it. It's up at Jennings GP in North Florida. That's on the I-75 side of Florida, not too far from I-75 and literally a stone's throw from the Georgia line. And that's why I'm doing some work on this right now, because I'm getting prepared for that. I'm just trying to follow the track rules as much as possible. I think it's going to be a real fun weekend, and I show you a little bit about that, but mainly I am repairing a cable for the rear shock damping adjustment. Now I went into this rear shock again to replace the boot on the bottom of the shock that I originally did, and I have a link in the description on that video where I put that boot on. It's a Volkswagen Beetle boot modified for it that I learned about in a tutorial. I put a different one on because that one literally disintegrated. I wanted that tightened up, and I wanted some other stuff done to make it look and function right, including that cable. I go into the cable in pretty good detail. This cable work is the same no matter what kind of weird cable it is, and this is a weird cable, or a standard cable, and I think you can get something out of that. So in the middle of doing all that, I had to segue over to the lathe. My neighbor down the road with the Harley shop had a rush job on some Harley Davidson brand new aftermarket hydraulic roller lifters. So I guess that's pretty much it. I think you'll get something out of this video as far as the cable goes, and enjoy my antics over on the tool post grinder and the lathe. Let's stop screwing around and get right to it, and we'll see you at the other side. I got a custom cable job here that I thought I'd film because this is a very custom cable. For the Sabre, this actuates the damping. The different stages, I think it's 3 settings of damping on the rear shock of the Sabre. Let me show you where it goes. It connects ultimately up here. The little tang is, there is indeed 3 settings with 3 very firm detents. And what it does is it comes around, this is where the screw part, the fixed part of this end goes. That's a very special end, not your typical cable end. It kind of loops around and goes back, and it goes into this little notch section in the frame right there. It's this guy right here that you pull it in and out with. But this cable is an absolute mess. It's somewhat hard to operate when it's bent around, because it has to do a 180. Why this is up here in the first place you might find interesting. It started off with a coolant drain, flush, and refill. And I put in this Summit non-glycol racing coolant. And like I said, I'm going over the track rules right now. I don't think I need to safety wire any fasteners as far as I understand, but let me go to the other side and show you the bottom of the rear shock. You can see I replaced the boot down there, a boot, das Boot, with a blue one. I thought that was kind of cool. If you watch the videos on doing this bike when whoops, sorry, excuse me, sir. When I was doing the rear suspension, the boot that was on there disintegrated and all this fork oil poured out. And I have a whole segment of a video on replacing the seal in one of these shocks rather. You can go watch that. I will try to put a link in the description. This is the boot that I used based upon a tutorial on how to do these shocks. They said if you use a pre-1968 VW Beetle CV axle boot, you can make Das Boot. You can make these fit by modifying them, which is exactly what I did, and I show it to you in that video as well. But this thing, when I put my peepers on it while I was doing this other work, from the other side is split. And that little drain thing I put in, or that breather thing, looks like crap anyway. And so that's all redone, and I wanted to replace this boot because it's split. And I'm taking care of a couple other things, like repinning out the stator supply yellow wires, the AC voltage side for the voltage regulator. That plug was partially melted, as they always do on Hondas. Most guys will be like, oh, just solder them together. No. We're going to put I got new pins on this side. I got new pins on the regulator side, which is right up here. That brings you up to date as far as this thing goes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing this track weekend. There's a lot of other considerations in regards to gear. It's too lengthy to get into in this video, maybe in another one, and hopefully we can film up there, I don't know. Okay, back to the topic at hand. So on this end, there's Again, this is an absolutely non-standard cable as far as functionality goes, what you typically see. You have a little loop end which kind of looks like a ring connector for an electrical connector, and it's crimped down there. I don't even know if it's soldered. Then you have your typical 10 mil nuts and clamps this in so it gives it a fixed purchase point so you can actually move it this way when you pull on the knob. And this is a fairly standard looking part. I'm not sure if I have this exact same size of one of these ends in my Motion Pro cable kit, which we'll pull out here in a minute and see, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Now, on this end has the knob and this mostly round shaft. You said shaft, but it's got a little flat in it, and the plastic knob. Now, I've tried to unscrew this. I figured they screwed it on there, but it don't budge. Now, when you take this away, this is just a rubber cover, rubber biscuit. It's kind of like a collet in there. Now, I'm not really sure why they used this, because the detents on that place where this goes is very firm on the shock itself. But what this does is it kind of bites down on this a little bit, it appears. Doesn't do it so much now, but I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is. Maybe we'll figure it out as we go. This plastic nut is on the back side. That clamps to that little bracket that's got the little slot in it. Pull this down. Let's get it out of the way. This is just a protector rubber. And this is where it's crimped on the cable at this end. It's got a crimp about maybe 10 mil in from this end. Let me get a better pointer. About 10 mil from this end up to here is where the crimp is. You can see it's got that octagonal shape to it. And then it's round, but it's got stakes. 2 stakes right here, medium rare, and 2 stakes right here. I'd like to try to save this, so I think the only way we're going to be able to get that off, I think we can get it off by drilling these 2 out. Okay, after this we're committed. Or we should be committed, one of the 2. Ugh, got it. I'll just grind that flat and we'll go over to the mill and we'll do that. This will be fun to film. I got a tiny, tiny center in there. Now the problem I have here is that the original cable is a 2 mil. I just measured it, and the stuff I got to replace it is a 1.5. I don't think that's going to work. I had it sticking out too far because it was centered in the chuck jaws. Of course. Now remember that cable strands are relatively hard. And this drill bit is a standard drill bit, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, it ain't gonna cut it. Alright, we've got options. Try a better grade drill bit before we move into the heavy artillery. Yeah, nope. This solid carbide, it's about 2 mil approximately, and that's fine because we can adapt and overcome from that, but this should do it. Oh yeah. Yeah, there it goes. Got it. Okay, you're through. And that worked fine. Went straight through. Looks good. So, now that we've got this out, we can just pull the whole damn cable out, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure if we can or not. Yes, we can. And then we can see exactly how this is connected there. Oh, joy. And, yeah. So, get this out of the way. So this is this guy. I'd really like to get this knob off. Now that it's off, maybe I can put it in the vise and unscrew it. I mean, if I trash it, I'll just, like I said, make a new one or just polish it out, you know. It's plastic. There's no set screw unless it's got a knurl or they molded this around the shaft. That is possible too. It could have a feature inside there that's got a slightly wider profile than this, and it's not going to unscrew, but I'm going to try it off camera and see what I can get. Let's set this aside for the moment and concentrate more on the cable sheath side here. Let me go get the hand drill. We'll just try to drill out these two stakes here. You guys got to remind me, I got to order some more of these small solid carbide bits. Get out of there. That's that one. Yep. Got it. Yeah, here it goes. I put it in the vise and then just started pulling on it. And she's coming out, see? I thought that would come out. So the cable end, sheath end, is flush with that end. It goes up inside there. Yeah, and as far as the cable sheath goes, it may be a little small, although that actually is pretty good. Let's get cleaned up with this mess and move on. Okay, I have a plan on getting this off. We'll do that here in a minute. If we can reuse this, that just saved me some time and some work. So this end I want to deal with now. We got to pull the cable kit out first and see if there's one of those in there that matches this pretty close, or we can make it match. Okay, if you're going to make any cables up at all, you need this guy, which is part number 01-0055. 195 piece cable fittings kit. Does come with these fitting ends, I think. Thought it did. You know, something like this, not bent. Oh, you know what? It only comes with like maybe one or two of them. I think I used it already. Huh. This is similar to it. Well, it's a, what these are is it's a mid-cable adjuster is what it is. So you put a cable end in, and you can adjust the length of the cable. We don't need that. I think we're going to do the same thing. We'll cut this off there, and likewise, we'll just cut this off somewhere. Go in from this end and drill the cable out. But on this one, we'll go in from this end. We'll drill the cable out. This ought to be fun. These are actually, well, this one, I don't know about the other one. These are actually little end mills. Let's see what we can do to core it out. I'm not going to run this too terribly fast. Do 600 to start with. Whoa! You know, I didn't break that, but I could have. You know what I did? I forgot to put the tailstock lock on, dummy. Look at that. Took it right out. That's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, well, most of it's out. Let's see if let's probe it a little bit more. There you go. The rest of it's just that rubber shit. We'll stick a prick in there and get it out, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Not bad. All right, so I got to go do a few things. I'm going to shut the camera off for now, put these parts where I know where they're at. And then we'll come back to it a little bit later. Okay, let's try this one, this time with the tailstock locked down. Once you clear that junk out of there, it kind of wraps itself around the cutter, which would normally piss me off, but at this point I'm kind of glad it did. I can always get that off. Yeah, it pushed it right up the other end. That's exactly, or out the other end. This is exactly what I was envisioning would hopefully happen to it. Interesting, it looks like it's got threads inside of it. You know what, this is exactly the right size cable sheathing for it, because that does kind of thread up on there. That's neat. That's neater than a Skeeter's Peter. All right, what do I got to do now? We'll deal with this knob. This is not coming off though. If you look at it under magnification, you can see that this must be molded on there. That flat, and essentially the plastic is essentially formed around that flat. But that wouldn't have happened if they put threads on this. We'll try to work around it, just leave it in place. I mean, I can cut it off and just make a new one, but I prefer not to. I don't see why they would do it that way, though, considering it does not turn, it pulls in and out, so it wouldn't be subject to loosening and unloosening during normal operation. It's weird. Let me see if I can chuck it up, because we're going to cut that off and drill the end out like I was talking about before. The knob will clear the inside of the jaws. Barely. Alright, let's see what we can do. I'm going to speed this up though. Let's see, we'll run it at this one at 1,000. That's even small for this, but that's what we're going to do. That's a big risk. Sending a tiny or very small carbide cutter down into a hole like that and have it snap off on you. Alright, we'll work on the pull knob first and put the cable on that. My intention here is to use this solder pot. This is something I saw on Dale Sweger's channel up there in Montana. He uses this for doing his cables, so I had to have one. This thing works very well. I've already tried it. I have silver solder. This stuff is USA made, and it's like 65 bucks a roll. I can buy the blocks of solder, you know, to melt down this thing, but I didn't. I let that heat up. I got it on nuclear. I'm thinking though I might put a small bird nest on the end of this with that bird nest tool, because this is a little smaller. Okay, the cable's set up in the 1.5 millimeter slot on the bird nest die, if you will, die set. This is something I made based on Dale Sweger's design. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description to his video where he explains how to do this. So I got 1.5 to 2.5, and this is in a recent edition. This is 1.2 mil, because I have run into 1.2 mil cable before, and none of these would work without shimming. So I made that not too long ago. What I'll do now is I'll just give it a whack. And before we take it out, we'll loosen it up and stick it up in the air. Get that piece and try it. Okay, I want a little bit more than that. I gotta back you out more. I keep hitting the phone. Probably too big, but we can grind it back. That would be a typical bird nest for, you know, if you're doing a cable end. On any other type of cable, that's probably way too big for this, but we'll see. That's about the right size. Just slips in. I just want it to slip in. That's what she said. Gotta get this slag crap off the top. That's why I stole one of Spoon's. Flux. A little bit more. Perfect. Now, will this work? I don't know, because I've never done this before. We're going to find out. Do a little bit more. Yeah. And now what I'm going to end up doing, I wish I could dip the whole thing in there, but I can't. I need to set this up in my hand job thing there. Okay, you can stop smoking now. I got the damn thing turned down to nothing. I guess we'll just turn it off before it blows up in our face. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah. Alright, let that cool a bit and then we'll dress it up. Well, that looks good from my house. I don't know about you. Oh yeah, I think that'll be just fine. Oh yeah, there's a flat. The flat has to line up. Well, I can see kind of why they did this though. They don't want it turning because it would stress the cable and snap it. So that's probably why they have this thing keyed for this flat right here. And the knob the same way. That was probably more of a manufacturing convenience thing than anything else. But that goes through there. So let's start building the sheath part of it. We'll work our way from this end to the other end. Okay, we're up to that end now. This end will push on very snugly. You know, you can see the two holes where they line up. It's all stuff you got to figure when you do these. Down inside there, you see that angle part, which is kind of the stop. It really should be where that is, because when you pull on this, it's going to pull that in if it isn't up to that point. And if it isn't up to that point, then you know it'll be the wrong length when you get done. I'm going to take a punch and just dimple these in, just like that. I got the rubber biscuit on the outside here. This has obviously been already there. I got the other rubber biscuit over this thing, and of course the cable through because it's attached to our knob job. So now what we have to do is we're going to leave the cable sheath this long, hopefully. We got to get this on, at least temporarily, you know, so it's up where it's going to live. But with that crimp on there, I mean, it's just too tight to try to push that on. I'll explain in a minute. This is what happens when you get cocky. You think you can do something that you can't do. Obviously, I blew that out, even after trying to heat it. But it had split already, and it just split more. So that ain't no good. But we're not going to throw it out just yet, because I want to show you something. This is what I come up with. This is another end that is made out of parts from my cable kit, that's all. I kind of cannibalized this with some machining operations. This side inside there is essentially much deeper than it would have been originally, because I need some stability on this. Remember, this is kind of bent around at 180. I didn't want this part like barely in. It goes in pretty far. And there is a barrel nipple on the end of it, you know, kind of like this one. So it goes in pretty far. There's a little sleeve that I set, like I said, I machined in there, so it takes up the space. So you have a little sleeve, the barrel nipple, and then this on the outside. Again, this does not have to turn. There's no adjustment here, so I will glue this here momentarily. Let it sit overnight because I've run out of time for today. So tomorrow, we're going to put this in place. Then we can get our exact length. We'll mark it, leave a little bit more for that little ring connector to go in, solder it in, and this thing will be done. All right, good morning. We are back. Done my morning chores and stuff. Went to the gym trying to get buff. Who am I kidding? I'm old and stove up. We do have a problem with stiffness though. Now last night I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, you know, about stiffness and whether or not you can take something in this setting and push it and make it do some sort of work unless it's stiff enough. Because if it's not stiff enough, it's not going to go in. What do you think I'm talking about? What I'm talking about is cable. I love your dirty minds. This is the piece that I was using. It's 1.5 millimeters, I said earlier. And some of you eagle-eyed viewers probably said, that ain't gonna work because I'm only considering on the pull side. That's exactly what my stupid brain was doing. I'm only thinking on this side, not this side. This has got to push in and pull out. And make sure you pull out in time. So I'm terrible. This is the old one, the original cable. And it's 2 mil, very stiff. I mean, this is impressively stiff, if you know what I mean. So I said to myself, I said, self, do I have anything bigger that I can use? And although the answer is always yes in that case, depending on what medication you're taking, I found some 2 millimeter cable, and this is pretty stiff stuff. So you can see, I'm going to bring you up here and show you. This is pretty thick here. And I don't think it's quite as stiff as the other stuff, but it's only going to be about that long. If we were in this form right here, and I'm pushing it together, that ain't collapsing. But if you take this piece, even in, you know, a short piece like this, that's going to boing, boing, boing. This was a dumb idea. So I've redone this. I didn't film any of it because you already saw it once. I've redone all this thing. Well, let me bring you down here. It's a little easier. You might as well enjoy the ridiculous mess as much as I am. I put the 2mm cable in, and I had to expand the sheath to a bigger piece. It's a used piece, but it's in really good shape, same length basically is what it was. Now on this end here, last night what I ended up doing, I put some JB Weld in on this end with this little barrel connector I was telling you about, or barrel. It's actually called a barrel nipple. I glued it in. Well, obviously I had to take that out, so I have a pair of these crimpers here, which are actually for coax cable. Get off of there. Coax cable works pretty good on these barrel nipples. And so what I ended up doing was just crimping that pretty soundly with a larger barrel nipple. It expands it slightly, and it makes it fit inside that piece very firmly. Now in final assembly, I'll mix up some more JB Weld and put it in there, and it'll just be in there in final assembly. Just let it cure inside there. When it's mounted, it's not going to cause any problems. Just to make sure it doesn't move anywhere. This end here, I had to cut off some of the rubber on the outside of this cable, so it's only the bare end. It looks like that. The wound part of the cable innards. You have a liner on the inside. You have the steel flexi part, and then the rubber. Well, it looks like that. And then I used some red Loctite on that. Whoop, that's not the right one. Idiot. And I used some red Loctite on that. And we'll clean it up a little bit, trim it up, but she's nice and solid. It's in as far as it's going to go. In other words, when you pull on it, it's not going to pull in anymore. And it gets covered by this piece of rubber here anyway. It's like a piece of rubber hose or something, just to protect it. So that's what it's going to look like anyway. So this works still. And now we're back to the exact same place we were yesterday when we left off. Okay, everything's mounted. Just out of shot behind you here is the pull knob. Not important, this is the important part. And there's 3 positions on this little switch up here. That's the highest position, listed as number 3. That would be when you pull this thing out. In other words, this way. So when you pull it out, that pulls it obviously and rotates that thing toward the barrel here. So we're going to put it back the other way because that's the way that we know we have a stop. We have a dead stop as far as the limits of the cable travel. So since we're all the way over, there's actually a little bit further it'll go. Kind of like just a little clearance there, probably just off the detent, but it's not a setting. So we're going to leave it in the setting part, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back on this a little bit. Now we're probably going to get a little cable stretch maybe over time, but I doubt it. I just want to make sure we have enough when we push this thing all the way in, it actually goes into that detent. We're going to mark our cable right there, but we need the little doodad first. Okay, so right there is exactly where we want it. And we're, like I said, we're just pulled out a little bit on that knob. Just a tiny bit. So we're going to cut it right there because we want to leave a little bit for the bird nest. So the number one mistake made on cable making is failing to put everything on the cable that you need to before you terminate the cable end. I got everything on this one, including the nut, and I have that little piece on that I just showed you. So we're just going to put a little bird nest on this. We're having trouble with this one because with that piece on there, I can't get a good clamp on the cable.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, after quite a while and putting in another vise, it's still not as good as it normally is, but I did get a little bird nest on the end of it. Grind it a little bit flatter because, it's just not the optimum situation for it. Normally this thing makes a perfect bird nest, but it's just the way it is because of this stupid thing in the way, and the way it's going to have to be. So, that bird nest is really important on the end of these cables, whether you use one of these ends, little barrel end, like this, one of these guys, or something similar. That's what that little recess is for the bird nest to go inside so it sits flush. Depends on the clearance. I've machined those up before. If it doesn't have it, I just put it in the lathe and use a drill bit or something. You really need that because otherwise the cable may pull right through. This was just crimped from the factory. There was no solder on this one. if I can get the damn thing to work. This is not working. So that's why I hate using flame. You end up burning off the flux and then it doesn't work. Yeah, it looks like shit because, you know, of the process, but let me clean it up and we'll come right back. Okay, I went ahead and put this all back together, tightened up. She works great. Gotta get this wiring harness back up where it belongs, otherwise it's in the way of the plunger because I'm still putting shit back together from taking this all apart to do this shock work. No problem. So there's your lowest, and then number 2, and number 3. And I think that's the highest, pulled out all the way. And so that's right here, of course. Nothing to it. Got a quick little side job to show you with the tool post grinder. These are Harley Davidson hydraulic lifters, apparently new. I'm guessing, I don't know if they're aftermarket or not. But they do not fit. This side goes inside that, just like that. This is the side that gets pumped up. Pump you up.
Pump you up.
Really, the only way to do this is grind it. And the tool post grinder is perfect for this application. You just got to make sure that the workpiece is dead freaking nuts. And that's what we're going to do right now. Whoops. Try to go to the high side. That's better. .3/10, close enough. Dead nuts. Perfect. All right, that's it. The links I go to recreate a special part. But I wanted to show you the details on it because in case you got to make a special cable like this, this is an odd duck, you know, as far as cabling goes. Typically, it's much simpler to make a cable for a cable actuated whatever than it is to do something like this. It's short, it has special ends, two-way, it's bi-directional, that's the other thing. With other cables, you don't have to worry about that. Generally speaking, I mean like throttle, you have push-pull, then you could push it closed. But remember, there's a spring helping you out too, the throttle springs. And this, there is no such thing. And this thing has always been very tight. I've lubricated the hell out of this thing. Not the greatest design in my opinion, but it does work. The cable is much nicer. And it's maybe a fraction easier. I think it's going to be more reliable in the long run. Okay, so we'll see you on the next one. Hope you got something out of this. As always, thanks for watching. Don't just repair, restore. Catch you on next video.